Hey, everybody, good evening. Welcome to the True Life Experience. I'm your host, Devon Alexander, and we got an incredible show for you tonight. So I want you to log on here. I want you to like. I want you to comment. I want you to click share. I want you to be engaged in tonight's discussion because I believe that it's going to impact your life forever. I'm excited about the topic as we approach Father's Day. I've got a special guest on, and we're going to talk about fatherhood tonight. And it's so prevalent that we talk about fatherhood. So I want to welcome everybody from Facebook. Log on here, click share, let us know you're on, write in the comments. We're excited to have you hanging with us tonight. And also on YouTube Live, thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. Click share, let your friends know we're on. It's going to be a good night. I know many of you are watching on your TVs. That's awesome. It's going to be a really good night, great discussion. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on the screen with us our very special guest. He's a husband. He's a father. He's my associate pastor at TrueLife. I'm so pleased to have him with me. His name is Nate Holloway. Welcome, Nate. So glad to have you, man. It's good for you to be here tonight. How you doing tonight?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here myself.
Well, I'm glad to have you, man. And I really like this topic that we're going to discuss tonight regarding fatherhood. But before we jump into our conversation and discussion in regards to fatherhood, tell us a little bit about yourself, just a little bit about your background, and tell the people and our listeners how we met.
I'm Nate Holloway. My background, I grew up, this topic of fatherhood is so close to my heart because I grew up without a father. But I was blessed to have father figures. And I'm a proud father of a handsome, young, energetic, smart 5-year-old, husband to my beautiful wife, Lakeisha, and associate pastor at the great True Life Fellowship Church. And I'm a native of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Lived in Virginia all my life till I met my wife, and we moved a couple of times, and we ended up here in Charlotte. And how we met, it was amazing. We came here. We were going to one church for about 2 years, and then we got a prophetic word that the Lord said it was time to find a Word of Faith church, and gave us exact description of what the church was going to be, what the pastor was going to say, and that the pastor was going to say a certain scripture. And then that's how we know that's the church. And my wife went on to KCM website, and she found I believe it were 2 churches on there. One was a little further away, but the prophecy was that the church wasn't going to be far from our house. And so True Life was about 20 minutes from the house. So we came, and the first Sunday we came, you weren't there, but you had a recorded message on the screen. Well, you broadcast live from Texas, I believe it was.
I think so.
And so we enjoyed that. And then my wife said, "Are we going to come back?" And I said, "Yes, we want to come back next week so we can, meet the pastor." And we came back. We enjoyed it, and you and I met after service, and then I think about a couple of times after we came back, and then I asked if we could meet for coffee. And we talked, and that started it. Started our friendship. Started us working together. Started me becoming your associate pastor. Us doing the work of the Lord together, as well as having a friendship. So
totally.
That's about me.
Yeah, I remember when we met up for that coffee, and I remember you had some stories, and they were very relative to some things that I had experienced. So we hit it off right off the bat, and then Stacey and I, begin to talk, and you and Lakeisha begin to talk and pray, and God led us to anoint you as the associate minister and pastor, and you've been nothing but a blessing to Stacey and I personally and to our ministry. So I want to say thank you for that as well, investing of your time, talent, and treasure in the house of the Lord. It's very appreciative on our end, and I know the Lord is very pleased as well. But let's continue on, because tonight's topic, we're going to talk about fatherhood tonight. And I think there is no better time than to talk about fatherhood. One, because we're approaching Father's Day, right? I mean, we want to honor our fathers. But two, the time that we live in now, I can't think of another time in history that it's so imperative that we have capable fathers in the homes with their children. And if they can't be in the homes, really be involved with their
Yes.
children, because our kids need role models, and the next generation is depending upon us. So to you, Nate, tell us, what does fatherhood mean to you, and why are you so passionate about fatherhood?
For me, fatherhood means setting a legacy. I believe that it's my job to build a legacy with my children and set a path of what the family is going to be and what the family name is and how my children are going to grow into life and go into their destiny. I'm passionate about it because my father left when I was 2.
Wow.
And this is a subject that it still hits me to a point to this day at some points. But I grew up not knowing, having a father in the house. And my mother was married before, but it wasn't a father. And
Right.
so I grew up learning things on my own. My grandfather taught me a lot of things. Then my godfather came into my life and helped my mother raise me and taught me a lot. Then I had so many father figures. I had a father figure, for a mentor for every season of my life. But why I'm so passionate about father is that I get opportunity to teach my son how to be a man. I have
Right.
opportunity to love on my son and teach him that he's great. And I really get opportunity to start a new legacy. And this is the big thing with me. I get opportunity to start a new legacy and make the Holloway name stand for something more than it did before. I didn't
Right.
have my father, so that was a legacy that was broken because he wasn't there to pass down. And I found out that I'm a musician, and I found that my father's a musician, great musician over and overseas. But that's what I got from him. But he wasn't there to help me hone my skills, or to
Right.
start to teach me that my name means something. Teach me about
Right.
character, and I can do that with my son, with Caleb. So now I'm starting a new generation of Holloway men that's gonna go into the future.
Right. That's a great answer, because it's so important, the imprint that men really leave on children and fathers leave on their sons and daughters, to really start a new
Yeah.
legacy, like you said, and to really start a new tradition, really, and in the family. I think about that with my 4 kids, how when they leave our home, man, I really want them to take things that they've learned from me and implement it in their home. And one of the most important things I want them to learn as well is, I want them to love the God that I serve, right? I
Yes.
want them to love the God that I love and serve the God I love, and know that he's faithful and just. And I believe, fatherhood can start from the love of God. Would you agree?
Yes, and we get to pronounce God's favor over our
Yes,
children when we're
that's
teaching them
good.
about God and we're teaching them about the love of God. We get to as we and we get to learn more about God's love when we're teaching our kids, because there's
Mm,
something in our process of teaching them that they're going to need, or they're going to want to know, that we may not know, because we don't have all the
right,
answers. But as we teach them, then we have to go and seek God every day to be able
right,
to teach them, because the influence of this world right now are crazy.
right.
So we
Hmm.
have to seek God. So as we seek God, teach our children, we're learning more about how He, as our Father, is what He's teaching us, and He's giving us those tools to give to our kids.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the best way, is to transfer it, is from father to son and daughter, and I think that's amazing. Well, tell us, Nate, what's the best thing about being a father? And as you think about that question, let us know. Write in the comments. Let us know you're here. I can see your comments coming in now as well, and let us know you're here. Click share. But Nate, tell us, what is the best thing about being a father?
Seeing that joy on my son's face when I walk in the door, it's just like he's a daddy's boy.
Right.
And when I come home, so we live where I work. So I work downstairs. I'm in property management. So I come home for lunch, and he comes to me right now, Daddy, you're home for lunch. Yeah, buddy. So we play. Daddy, can we play? We play. So I eat lunch, spend some time with him. I go back, come back home. Daddy, you're home. Can we play? So and he always wants to play, but it's just like just seeing that the joy on his face when I walk through the door. It does something to me every day. I get kind of choked up a little bit. I don't know what she knows now. She's probably watching, but I don't tell why. But I love seeing him. I love hugging him. But that's the best. Just seeing the joy on his face when I walk through the door. Recently, he was at grandma's house, and they were gone for about a week, week and a half. And when he came home, he said, "Daddy, I'm glad to be home. I couldn't wait to
Wow.
get home to you." And that just I wanted to cry, but I didn't. Strong, yeah. Um, but but it's just the best part is just seeing the joy on his face when I walk in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you consider fatherhood to be a hard role, a hard position to walk in?
Hmm. I don't see it as a hard. I don't see it as a hard position. I see it as a position that takes work. It
Hmm.
takes. You have to be strategic. You have to plan. You have to be willing. You have to be open to learn. You have to be open to take rebuke. You have to be open to wisdom. You can't act like you know everything. Um, so I don't see it as hard. I don't think fatherhood is hard because if you
Right,
love it and if you're a father that's there and you're present, it's not hard.
right,
It can be not hard. It can be, I don't want to say stressful, but it can be at times I don't know, I can't think of the word right now, but it can take a lot. It can take a lot out of you at times, but it can also replenish you as well.
right,
Because fatherhood, you have to be father, you have to be protector, you have to be provider, you have to be prophet, you have to be prayer warrior, you have to do all those things, and it's all in one. And most of them sometimes at the same time. But with God, and when you pray for God's strength, He'll give you strength to do it. And I say you're not gonna be tired. Not saying it's not gonna feel like it's hard because it can sometimes feel like it's hard. But I don't believe
right,
it's hard work. I believe anything that you love doing, you won't consider it hard work.
right. I like that answer. I believe consistency. One of the things that come to mind where fatherhood is concerned is it's really being consistent, remaining the same as in every obstacle of life. I'm thinking about a situation in my life. I cooked a steak, right, and we
Hmm.
had this steak. It was perfect on the grill. I let it just kind of simmer on the grill a little bit. And when I went back outside, the grill had caught on fire. It was an older grill. The steak had turned into a hockey puck.
Oh
And
wow.
I was so angry. I walk in the house and all four of my kids are looking at me like, what is daddy going to do or say? And I was so angry. I was ready to cuss, fuss, throw stuff and all type of stuff. I was upset. I really wanted that steak. And right in that moment, I knew, I said, this is going to be an impression that my kids are going to remember forever. And I've got to respond with maturity. It's just a piece of meat, you know?
Hmm.
And I remember that. I slowed down. I took a deep breath. Stacy said, leave daddy alone. I stepped back outside. I jumped in the car and I got something to eat. But I came back and I remember thinking, if I would have, I don't cuss. I don't curse around. I don't curse, period. But if I would have cussed or if I would have done some of those things, man, my kids were going to remember that, and that would have been an
Yeah.
imprint. Hey, when you get mad, this is what you do. And I think consistency is something that's vitally important where fatherhood is concerned. Do you think that's why we don't see a lot of good fathers? Is it because of the work and consistency, or what do you think the reason is?
I think I think part of the reason is main part of the reason main reason part of it is they don't know. They don't know how to be great, good fathers and consistent fathers. I see that a lot when you see because as fathers, like you just said, when you came in the house, your answer um, would have left an impression on your kids. It also would have given your kids the right to feel like they can say it or do what you did too, because daddy
Exactly.
said it, so I can
Right.
say it. So it's like when we grow up without a father in the house, then or we grow up with daddy, he's not there, he's in and out, in and out. Then as a son or as a child, it gives me the impression that that's how it's supposed to be. And
Right.
because I see that, so my son sees me, I come home, I kiss my wife, I hug
Right.
him, I play with him. Daddy is there. Dad is taking care of the family. Dad is always present. I didn't see that. But if I hadn't saw that in my mentors, see,
Right.
if I didn't see it in my grandfather was always there. He was always there taking care of him. My grandfather worked odd jobs. He worked, I don't care if he had a different job every week, but he worked to take care of his family. I don't care if my grandmother, and sometimes we live with them, if we lived in a different house every month, he had a roof over everyone's head. Um, and my godfather, when my godfather started raising me, he was there with his family. So I saw that. So even though I didn't have my father there, I saw an idea of what it meant for a father to be there. And if I hadn't have seen that, if it was just me
Right.
at home with my mom, then I probably would have done the same thing. So that's why
Right.
it's key for a father to be present, because if these men, if they don't see, and then one of the things we do, and we gotta stop doing that. I promise I won't go do it for my son. Is when our sons are a certain age, how many girlfriends you got, boy? No.
Right.
How many girlfriends you got?
Right.
If you don't have
Right.
3 or 4 girlfriends, then you ain't a player. You're
That's a
not my
good point.
son. You gotta have, and
Right.
so what that does is that teaches that son, that kid, that's what it said to me, that's what it showed me. Hey, I need to have 3 or 4 girls in order to impress
Right.
uncle. I need to have 3 or
Right.
so. It's
You need to
teaching
be a
them that.
gigolo, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's teaching these boys that, okay, I gotta have 3 or 4 girlfriends. So now they're thinking as they get older, I'm a player. I'm gonna be a player. It's
Right.
cool to be a player. So then they get out there, they make these babies, and then they go and they leave and they leave. And so I think that's one of the main reasons I think a lot of men out there are not good and consistent fathers, is because they don't have the role models to teach them. And one more quick thing, and
Yeah.
I've learned, I studied something. I heard Creflo Dollar talk about this one time, and with all the things that's going on, talking about race and slavery. If you think about back in the slavery days, black men were sold to make babies, taken away from their
Right.
family to make babies. So it's
Yeah.
ingrained in the culture that make a baby, leave, make a baby, leave, make a
Right.
baby, leave,
Right.
make a baby, leave.
Yep.
But
Became a
nobody,
habit.
it became a habit, and nobody will say, "Yo, knucklehead, take care of that
Right.
child."
Right.
And my godfather said to me, "If you make a baby, you're gonna take care of it."
Right.
So, and that's what I plan on telling Caleb that, hey, son, this is what you do. Don't do this, don't do that. But if you get somebody pregnant, you're going to get a job. You take, because
Right.
mom and dad now will take care of it. We're going to help you as much
That's
as we can.
right.
We'll teach you. But and you're not going to have that out. And so I think
Right.
so I said all that to say that's the reason I believe there are no consistent father. A lot of men are not consistent because they didn't have people to teach them how to be. Not making an excuse
Yeah,
for
that's
them, but
right.
yeah, yeah.
And if I can add to that too, I think you cannot be selfish and be a good father at the same time. I
Oh
think
no.
I think it's the opposite. I mean, you have to be unselfish in order to be a good father, and that doesn't mean you wake up one day and you're unselfish. It means you have to deny yourself. You have to
Yes.
sacrifice your wills and wishes. You gotta lay some of your things aside so that you can make that impression upon your young people. That doesn't mean you can't have fun or watch a basketball game or go out to eat or whatever the case may be. But those precious moments with them, you got to be unselfish and endeavor. I want to encourage our listeners to endeavor to put your will down, to put your needs down. Hey, I've got to work this third and fourth job, man. I always say 3 and 4 jobs is for 3 and 4 different people. If you're a
Yeah.
father, you need to be investing your time into your young people because that's where you're going to see the biggest benefit. So let me ask you this, Nate, and anybody else out there, if you got any questions for Brother Nate, let us know in the comments. And if it's good, I'll post it and ask him the question. But let's continue there. How important are our father's words? What premium will you put on the father's words to their children?
Top notch, high premium,
Mhm.
grade A, USDA, choice, beef, whatever. It's a father's words are so vital to the success and growth of his children because um, your words go follow them. Your words go to the future. Your words set them up for success. Your words tell them what they're going to be, especially at a young age. Now, if you have older kids and you haven't spoken to them, it's not too late. Like my son
Right.
now, he's so impressionable. He's 5. He holds on to my every word. So
Right.
every morning, and I know you've heard me say that every morning I say to him, "You're great. You're a champion. You could do anything. Jesus loves you. Your name is Holloway. You are a Holloway. You are a leader and not a follower." Now he can recite that
Yeah.
back and forwards to me. Now sometimes he tell me, "Daddy, we didn't say our confections today. Confessions, we say confections." Um, but every day before I leave the house, every day, because I know that what I say to him is going to go into his future. What I tell him he is, who I tell him he is, what I tell him he can and can't do is going to shape his life. If I tell him he can't do something, then it's going to hold him back. Now, of course, he can't do anything bad, but when it
Right.
comes to things that are good that he may say, "Dad, I can't do," no, son, don't say you can't do it. Ask yourself, how can you do it? How
Mm.
can you get it done? I'm a product of that. Me, a lot of times when I was younger, it was said to me that I was slow, that
Mm.
I wasn't going to be anything. That basically I was slow. Like even now, I've heard people say to me, "Who would have thought you would be where you are?" So those
Right.
things, because when I was young,
Yeah.
it was said to me that I was slow. Now my mom would always tell me you can do anything, but when it
Right.
came from the male's voices that were saying it to me or that were saying it about me, that when I heard them say it, it affected me and it caused me to take a longer path to get where I am today or where I'm trying to
Right.
go. Now, I
Right.
believe that if I had my father or my father figures earlier in my life had been saying to me, "You're great. You can do this. You can do that. You can do this. You're going to do this," then I would have been further along. But it didn't start till I didn't start getting that um, confirmation, those words, till around 13. So
Right.
when I hit 13, by that time it was almost too late to really get it in me like it would have been if I was 5. So
Right.
a father's word shapes and speaks over the life of his children, and it goes with them. Like right now, I hear things that I say my dad, my godfather, calling my dad. I hear things now that my dad um, said to me when I'm ready to make decisions. There are things now.
Mhm.
My wife laughs at me because he had a model looking good and smelling good. And he said that to us all the time. You have to look good and smell good at all times. Your tie has to match your socks. It looking good and smelling good. And to this day, I cannot go without wearing cologne.
Right.
I cannot. It's a big thing to me. My wife laughed at me Sunday because I was on my way out the door to go to church, and I came back because I forgot to put on cologne. She said, "You came all the way back in here for cologne." And and that's how important the father's words is, and that's the type of effect Calvin and children. Caleb asked me yesterday, said, "Daddy, when I grow up, I can put that on." I said, "Son, you might start doing it around 6. I might buy you a bottle." But so because that's what I was taught, and so a father's
Right.
words can truly, truly shape the life of his children.
Well, and talk about in the opposite. I mean, what can a father's words do for a child in the reverse effect?
A father's words can cause what's going on in society today. A
Talk about that
father,
for a second.
like with when you think about everything that's going on with the protests and racism and things like that, all that started with a father.
Mm.
When you look back, I was talking to someone about it. I think it was my wife. I don't remember who I was talking. I was talking about it today. When you look back at slavery time and racism, you had a father that taught his son that this is how you treat this person. You're better than this person. This is how you do this. So that son taught his son. Then that son taught his son on top of what the grandfather was teaching the son. Then that son taught his son on top of what the grandfather and the great grandfather was teaching the son or the daughter. And it went on and on and on. But for the start of a father's words, it started a chain reaction of how you feel you're supposed to treat another person. And so
Right.
you could do things like that, or you can say words that causes your child to not progress. Yeah, if I could
Right.
say to Caleb, I could tell my son every day, you're gonna be nothing. You're stupid. But then if I say you're stupid, he'll say, "Dad, it's a potty word." You know, uh, I could say that. I could say you're not great. You're not going to do anything, and that will happen. He won't do anything unless God blesses him with someone that comes in and changes that, like He did me. But my words will set a chain reaction for his life, and negative words will cause negative actions in his life. So father's words can praise, they can build up, they can hurt, they can kill. The Bible says that your words can kill or they can give life.
That's
So
right.
you say the wrong words and it could kill your child's future. But if you say the right words, it could build their future.
Absolutely. And we got to be conscious of that truth. We're not going to always get it right.
Right.
We're not going to always say the right thing. We're going to say the wrong thing at times. That those things are going to happen, but it's what you're saying consistently and constantly, and that sacrificial love, making sure you're conscious of what you're saying, how you're saying it, the tone you're using it, the body language. All of that's so very important because kids are like sponges, man. They pick it
Yes.
up and they soak up who you are really,
Hmm.
and so you got to be very aware of that. Real quick, let's talk about discipline. Discipline is so very important, especially we're talking about in the society we're in now. I like when you talked about things being passed down and taught down like a paradigm or a way of thinking, or that's called culture. Really, a culture
Right.
has been passed down through generation to generation. But let's talk about discipline. I've noticed on one end where discipline is concerned, we've seen uh, rough discipline be passed down from generation to generation.
Hmm.
We've seen no discipline passed down from generation to generation. What's the what's the equilibrium there that we can find a balance where discipline is concerned? Because I believe it is important that our children are disciplined by their father. And so, what's the equilibrium that you have found there with Caleb and in with your experience?
Well, I there has to be some type of discipline. There has to be, or your child's going to grow up believing there are no consequences for their
Right,
action, especially with young men. Um, but you have to find that balance. You have what I'm learning, and first we have to be always be open to say we don't know and
right,
to learn. I'm still learning the proper way to discipline Caleb. When he was first born, um, I kind of spoiled him because it hurt me to discipline him. Before it was just I was just talking to him, talk to him. So, son, you can't do that. He'll get a pop every now and then, but it's like, son, you can't do that. This is why you can't do it. But now, if he gets a, if now I don't now back in the day,
you're right.
we got whipped. You
Yeah,
know,
right. It was
we got
different.
whipped.
Yeah,
But I turned out like I did. It didn't hurt me. It didn't kill me. Some of the stuff back in the day would have been considered child abuse today
hmm
because the first thing they could get their hands on came flying past your head. Or
brooms, bats. I've had brooms and bats and all type of stuff.
and yeah, and to say in our parents' defense is that's what they saw. That's
That's
how
what they
they
saw.
got,
It got
and
passed
they
down.
didn't know how this. And then if you take it back, if we go back, you got discipline by getting whipped. You ran
Right.
away. You got so you pass it down to your children. If you run or you do this, you get whipped. And so, but you can if you talk to your child and say, I learned this from friend from a guy at my dad's church when I was younger. His son, the first time I seen him discipline his son did something and it was really bad. And I saw him sit his son down, talk to his son, and said, "Dad loves you. I'm gonna have to spank you. This is why I have to spank you because you did this. And if I don't spank you, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna grow up thinking you can do this and get away with it." Then he spanked him, and then after he spanked him, He said, I love you. And he reiterated again why he had to spank him. His son now is up. I believe he's a lawyer. He's grown. He's about to get married. I think he's in his 20s, 30s, something like that. But to see that, that left an impression on me. I probably was in my teenage years at that time. But that left an impression on me where I said, that's how I want to raise my child, discipline my child
Right.
when I have my
Right.
child. And I say that, and I said before, you have to know your child, because you have to know how to discipline your child by their personality and the attitude. That's what I'm learning. Because Caleb, my son, Caleb is stubborn. He can be stubborn. He's also smart. He's analytical. And a lot of times he wants to get his point out to the point where he not gonna hear anything else that you say until he gets his point out. You can pop him and he still wants to get his point out. So I've learned sometimes I just have to let him get his point out, let him hear say what he wants to say and explain himself, but then tell him daddy still has to discipline you because this is why you do that. You understand? Yes, yes. Well, you say yes, sir. You understand, and it hurts to spank him, but I have to, because I don't want him growing up thinking there's no consequence. So you have to find that balance between your child's personality and the style of discipline that you're going to give to your child. I hope
I
that
think that's
explains
really
my answer.
no, no, that's really good. I think that's really good, Nate, as well. And I also think that we have to when we approach these discipline areas, we have to talk about not necessarily. I know with a teenager in my home now, it's not always about spanking anymore, and it's not always about behavior. Now it's more of why are you
Hmm.
doing what you're doing. So we have to address the thoughts behind it, their decision making. Why did you do that? How did you come to that conclusion? Here are the consequences with that decision. And so it's more a little more of a communication. But if we can address the why behind the behavior, I
Yes.
believe behavior will change. And our behavior always responds to what we feel or how we think. And so if we can
That's
address
good.
how someone thinks and maybe introducing into their thought life a better way of thinking, then their behavior is going to automatically change. But I notice with my kids, I have a teenager in the home now. My kids are getting a little older. I've got stubborn kids. I've got strong-willed kids. And each one is different, like you said. But a lot of times we try to talk to them and really try to question their why, figure out why they did that. Are you being a
Hmm.
follower? Are you trying to be liked by someone else? Are you trying to show off? Whatever the case may be. And once we can get to the why, we followed up with the discipline. But hopefully, because they're going to be adults here pretty
Yes.
soon, they are going to be adults. We got a very short period of time. I'll take a 30 seconds or so, but you know how I say this all the time. 1/3 of your life is spent sleeping,
Yep.
and 1/3 of your life is spent working, and 1/3 of your life is spent to yourself. Think about that with an 18-year-old. If 1/3 of your life spent sleeping, 6 years of their 18 years in the home with you, they're asleep. Another third, you're at work, right? So you really
Yeah.
have a third of your life with them, or you're at work or they're at school. So you really have a third of of their life, while they're in the home with you.
Hmm.
And I think
That's
about
good.
that a lot. I think about that a lot. Like I've got to make a huge impression upon them. So when they leave this house, man, me and my wife, we can sleep well and go on vacation knowing that they're making the right
Right.
decisions.
They're doing good.
Amen. And we didn't let
Yeah.
them down. One last question here, and then I'll let you get back with the family, and I will with mine. But what is the biggest impression you want to make on your child, or what's the biggest impression a father should make on their children?
I think the biggest impression a father should make on their children um is character. That's one thing. That's the one thing I want to leave with my son and have the biggest impression to me is that daddy's character was, I don't want to say impeccable, but I kind of do. Um,
Right.
because I want him to say that my dad was a good man, that my dad was an honest man, my dad was a fair man, my dad was a wise man. And I believe if that's the impression we leave on our kids, they'll always be willing to come to us for advice,
That's
be
good.
honest with us, and tell us when they've done something wrong or when they're going through things. We see a lot of people where the kids just they change They go in the room, they shut the door. I was watching a commercial on TV one day where the son was a teenager, and yeah, he didn't want to be bothered. Nobody go in his room, slam his door, sign on the door
Right.
said keep out. But something changed in that
Hmm.
child, that where they don't
Right.
feel that they could come to dad and talk to dad and say, Dad, I don't know what's going on with me right now. And they said something in the commercial about puberty. But I want it to be where my son feels comfortable no matter what, coming and talk to me. And I want that impression to be that my dad was a good man, and
Right.
that his character was great, and that I could go to him for anything, knowing that he's gonna say the right things, do the right things, and treat me right. So
Yeah.
for me, the biggest impression I leave a father that leave on his children, that I want to leave on my children, is the character.
I like that. What a great answer. And I think if I'm answering that question, I think I would say consistency, being consistent, doing the same thing, remaining the same
Mhm.
throughout the ups and downs in life. Be consistent, be constant. It's in that consistency, right? In being consistent, that the power to change lives, the power to produce lives, the power to generate, the power to advance. All of that is about being consistent. And I don't want my kids to be quitters. I want them to be consistent and put their mind and heart to it, obey to God, and continue. Consistency equals a faithful man or woman, and a faithful man or woman will always abound with blessing. And I think that's important. That's what I try to model myself after, just being consistent. And I want my kids to be the same way. Nate,
That's
any
good.
final words before we let you go tonight? Thank you for your wisdom tonight. Any final words?
I just want to say to any dads out there, whether you're new, um, whether you're seasoned, uh, don't be afraid to ask for advice. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Do what you can to be there. Um, just if you're not with the mother, if you fell on hard times, anything, just be there. The biggest thing for a child, and I've heard this before, that the biggest thing you can give a child is time. And from experience, I can say that to this day, I still at times want a father's advice. I still at times need a father's advice. I still at times want to hear my dad or a father figure just say, Son, you can do this. Son, this is the way you do it. Son, great job. Son, you got it. And so our children need that. They need to hear us say that. Your mom can say it, but it hits different when you hear it from dad. And so just be there, be present. If it's 2 hours a day, if it's 2 hours a week, make it count, and just be present and do the work it takes to be a great father.
Amen. Wise words, man. That is awesome. Thank you so much for your time tonight, sharing with us tonight. Nate Holloway, everybody, let Nate Holloway know that you have enjoyed him tonight in the comments. Say thank you, Nate. Give him a high five. Say bless you. Amen. Whatever you want to say, but just let him know that you're thankful for his time tonight. Hang on there, Nate, and everybody else watching here at True Life, the Experience. My name's Devon Alexander once again. So glad that you have joined us tonight. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a special guest on, and we hear about their life because we want you to experience true life. My destiny is to help you reach your destiny. I pastor a church called True Life Fellowship Church. There's the website there at the bottom, truelifefc.org. Check out there the website. You can get some free material, free sermons, free messages. You'll find out what we're about. And you can go to my personal blog at devonalexander.com. You get free blogs. And I've written a couple of books as well. Make sure you get a copy of the couple of books that are doing really well out here. So get you a copy. I believe it'll be valuable to you and impact your life forever. Once again, my name is Devon Alexander. You've been watching the True Life Experience. I look forward to seeing all my True Life folks on Wednesday. On Sunday. Look forward to seeing you there as well, either online or in the building. And everybody watching the replay, thank you so much for watching. You can click share, like, and comment as well. I love you. Be blessed, and we'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye.